Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees from Sri 𝗚𝗺𝗵𝗶 My name is Madhavananda Das, and these are our adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we're continuing with our discussion that we've Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees from Sri 𝗚𝗺𝗵𝗶 My name is Madhavananda Das, and these are our adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. We're continuing with our discussion. We're calling the meeting in Kurukshetra, and this is session number 66. And today, mostly, we're going to be reading from the last chapter of the Embankment of Separation. Just looking back on our last session or two, we spoke something about Srimati Radharani's desire for death. Very astonishing topic, but a very important part of our understanding of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. That Radharani had that desire in separation from Krishna, although that desire, that feeling, was not a symptom of her depression. Rather, it was a symptom of ecstasy. Srimati Radharani had some desire for death. So we're going to go ahead and just recite our Mangalacharna prayers, and then we'll go ahead and begin. Gaura-graganya gana gocha goloruharam Gauranga guratama gopyara kolpa briksham Gopala gada ratidam yati singha gora Govinda deshikavaram satatam namami Uttama adama kichuna bachila Jachiya dile kakola Kahe premananda hemona gauranga hridoya dariya bola Bhaja gauranga kaha gauranga Laha gaurangera namare Je jana gauranga bhaje se hoy amara prana re Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva padam bhuja bhakti labhya Prema bidana padama pumata Tasmai jagan mangala mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jodi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So good morning, dear devotees from Sri 𝗺𝗺𝗵𝗶 My name is Madhavananda Das, and this is our Adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our series we're calling Meeting in Kurukshetra. It's number 66. And today we want to discuss something from a wonderful book. This is the last book that was printed or worked on before Guru Maharaj left. It's the Embankment of Separation. We're working on an expanded deluxe edition of this book at this time. If Krishna's kindly allows that to happen. So I want to read something from that, but I'd like to look back a little bit on our previous discussions. And we were saying something very astonishing, an astonishing thing which actually is an important aspect of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And that was Srimati Radharani's desire for death. A very inconceivable thing to try to understand. And how Guru Maharaj said that if you want to understand Srimati Radharani, you have to understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he once commented that Mahaprabhu's bhajan was a desire for death. And we read in the biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Bhagavata describes that on one occasion Mahaprabhu wanted to go and drown himself in the Ganga. And Nityananda Prabhu and some other devotees, they stopped him. So that desire comes from the desire of Srimati Radharani. And we can understand that desire in the sense that we don't want to live in this material world. We want our material bodies, our material nature to be finished. We want to completely dedicate ourselves to Krishna. And that feeling is the height of ecstasy. That's the mood of Srimati Radharani. So we'd like to speak something today, what we're calling Gambhiraya Sri Gauranga, which actually is the title of a wonderful book in Bengali by Rasik Mohan Vidyabhushan, something we're also planning on translating. He was an old friend of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this is the final chapter of the Embankment of Separation, called Mahaprabhu in Sri Gambhira. So we'll read this and we'll discuss a little bit as we're going along. So please come along with us. After Gauranga Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he stayed in Jagannath Puri Dham. That Sri Kshetra is also known as Vipralambha Kshetra, the Kshetra where intense pangs of separation are felt. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is in Radha Bhav. He is Krishna, but his mood is different. Radha Bhav is predominating. Although he is Krishna himself, Gauranga Mahaprabhu is always crying for Krishna. And Jagannath is feeling separation from the gopis and Radha. So when they meet, Jagannath sees Radha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees Shama Sundar and Jagannath. Therefore, after separation, union takes place. Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri Dham continuously for 18 years. This Dham is very dear to him. Always ecstatic, feeling the acute pangs of separation from Krishna. Mahaprabhu goes to the temple of Lord Jagannath every day, and Jagannath shows him his beautiful Sham Sundar form. Jagannath will only show his beautiful Sham Sundar form to one who is in Radha Bhav. So in the biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can mark, there's a kind of what we sometimes call a formula, that Mahaprabhu's life is given in different stages. 24, 6, 6, 12. He spent 24 years as a grihastha. And then 6 years after taking sannyas, he traveled in South India and preached. And 6 years he spent here in Jagannath Puri cultivating his lieutenants, who were his preachers, Nityananda Prabhu and other devotees. And then for 6 years, for that 6 years he cultivated his lieutenants. In the final 12 years, 18 years in Jagannath Puri, he locked himself up in the Gambhira and he cried for himself. So this is a very esoteric subject. This is a very intrinsic part of our discussion and meeting in Kurukshetra, because the fruit of that meeting in Kurukshetra is gaura-līlā. And that meeting in Kurukshetra, a lot of that is based upon this 47th chapter of the 10th canto, the Bhramara-gita, which we've been speaking about. Nice to see Gauranga Madhuri here, Mani Gopal Prabhu, and Vrinda Sundari, also Hare Krishna. Thank you for taking part today. I want to invite any of the devotees at the end, if they have any reflections or comments, to please share those. So, going back to Embankment of Separation, our Guru Maharaj says, otherwise, if you have no such mood, he's saying that Mahaprabhu goes, let's back up a little bit more again. Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri Dham continuously for 18 years. This Dham is very dear to him, always ecstatic, feeling the acute pangs of separation from Krishna. Mahaprabhu goes to the temple of Lord Jagannath every day, and Jagannath shows him his beautiful Shyam Sundar form. Jagannath will only show his beautiful Shyam Sundar form to one who is in Radha Bhav. Otherwise, if you have no such mood, you cannot see it. This is a question of mood. If you're feeling the acute pangs of separation from Krishna when you enter into the temple of Jagannath, he will show you his beautiful Shyam Sundar form. Otherwise, how can you see it? Jagannath will show you the form you want to see. So because Mahaprabhu is in Radha Bhav, he's always crying for Krishna. Kwananda kula chandrama, kwasiki chandra kalankriti, kwamanda murali rava, kwanu surindra nila duti, kṛṣṇa rasatandavi, kwasaki jiva rukṣādadir, nidir mama suritama, kwabhatta hanta hig hadig vidam. So this verse, just to make a little comment on it, this verse, which appears twice in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is from Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhav, is the words of Srimati Radharani in separation from Krishna. And repeatedly in this verse, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 times she uses the word kwa. Kwa means where. Kwananda kula chandrama. Where is Krishna, who is like the moon in the ocean of the Nanda Maharaj, the dynasty of Nanda Maharaj? Kwa Sikhi Chandra Alankriti. Where is that Krishna, whose head is decorated with a peacock feather? Kwa Mandra Murali Rava. Where is Krishna, whose flute produces such a wonderful sound? Kwa Nu Surendra Mula Kwa Nu Surendra Nila Duti. Where is Krishna, whose bodily luster is like an Indranila jewel? Kwa Rasa Rasatandavi. Where is Krishna, who is expert in dancing in the rasa dance? Kwa Saki Jiva Raksha Osadi. She says, oh, my dear Saki, where is that Krishna, who's Jiva Raksha Osadi, who is the Osadi, the medicine which Jiva Raksha can protect or save my life? Nidhi that he's my treasure, my nidhi, oh, my best of friends. Kwabata hanta ha dikvidam. Feeling separation from him, she says, I condemn Providence, the shaper of my destiny. Guru Maharaj says, these are Radharani's words. She is crying, and Mahaprabhu is in the same mood. In the Lalita Madhav, Rupa Goswami has described Radharani's pralap, which is like the delirium of a madman. Prosita Bhatrika Radha Vilapa Katara. Radharani is lamenting for Krishna in the same way that a woman laments when her husband has left home and gone to a foreign land. Virahini Radha has become mad. Oh, my dear Saki Lalita, such a high fever has come to me, I cannot describe it. This is Viraha Jvara, the fever of separation from Krishna. In this crying delirium, there is such a high degree of temperature that one becomes mad and his head reels. The doctor says, put an ice bag on his head. Radharani cries, oh, my dear girl companion, where is that moon of the Nanda dynasty? Nanda Kula Chandrama, Kwasiki Chandra Kalankriti. Where is he on whose crest is a peacock feather? Where is he? Kwamanda Murali Rava. Where is Krishna, upon whose lips a flute plays so sweetly? Where is he? And then Guru Maharaj says, can you put a flute on Gaura? Although he's Krishna, you cannot put a flute on Gaura. Similarly, how can you put a peacock feather on he who is crying for Krishna like Radharani? His mood will be disturbed. Although he's Krishna, Gaura's mood is different. Therefore, Prabhupada has said, don't disturb the mood of Gauranga. It is very painful to him. Our service is meant to give him pleasure, not pain. We are servants, and we must render service to please him. not for our own pleasure. He's to be pleased. If we say, "Oh Gaura, a peacock feather is on your head, you're Krishna," then how can he cry? He'll say, "Oh, I'm Krishna, I cannot cry now." But Mahaprabhu is crying. Where is Krishna? Kṛṣṇa kula chandrama, Kṛṣiki chandrakalaṅkriti. Where is Krishna, on whose crest is a peacock feather? Where is that Krishna, Indranila Mani, whose complexion is blue like the Indranila jewel? Where has he gone? Prana Rokshasadi. He is a soothing balm for my afflicted heart. O Saki, where is he? Digvidi. Alas, Vidi, the Creator, has written in my fortune that I have to cry, 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 a whole life of crying. This is my fate. So Srila Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj here is referring to a purport Prabhupada writes in Adi-lila chapter 4, text 41, where Prabhupada writes, the Lord's acceptance of the role of a devotee in the eternal form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is another of the Lord's wonderful features. A conditioned soul cannot reach the absolute personality of Godhead by his imperfect endeavor, and therefore it is wonderful that Lord Sri Krishna, in the form of Lord Gauranga, has made it easy for everyone to approach him. Swarup Damodar Goswami has described Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself, with the attitude of Radharani, or a combination of Radha and Krishna. The intention of Lord Chaitanya is to taste Krishna's sweetness and transcendental love. He does not care to think of himself as Krishna, because he wants the position of Radharani. We should remember this. A class of so-called devotees called the Nadiya Nagaris or Gora Nagaris pretend that they have the sentiment of gopis toward Lord Chaitanya, but they do not realize that he placed himself not as the enjoyer Krishna, but as he enjoyed the devotee of Krishna. The concoctions of unauthorized persons who pretending to be bona fide have not been accepted by Lord Chaitanya. Presentations such as those of the Gaura Nagaris are only disturbances to the sincere execution of the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is undoubtedly Krishna himself, and he was always non-different from Srimati Radharani, but the emotion, technically called Vipralambha-bhav. Could you turn this off? Or turn it way down. Which the Lord adopted for confidential reasons, should not be disturbed in the name of service. A mundaner should not unnecessarily intrude into affairs of transcendence and thereby displease the Lord. One must always be on guard against this sort of devotional anomaly. A devotee is not meant to create disturbances to Krishna. No, that's not necessary, just that. A devotee is not meant to create disturbances to Krishna. As Srila Rupa Goswami has explained, devotional service is anukulyena, or favorable to Krishna. Acting unfavorable to Krishna is not devotion. Kamsa was the enemy of Krishna. He always thought of Krishna, but he thought of him as an enemy. One should always avoid such unfavorable so-called service. So Prabhupada is saying here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was undoubtedly Krishna, and he's always none different from Srimati Radharani. But the emotion technically called Vipralambha-bhav, which the Lord adopted for confidential reasons, should not be disturbed in the name of service. So this is what Guru Maharaj is referring to. For a similar reason, in the 1994 original edition of the Pancharatra Pradeep, the official GBC standards and philosophy of deity worship in ISKCON, it was described there, quote, there is some controversy over whether Lord Chaitanya should wear a peacock feather, since he is non-different from Krishna, as he revealed in some of his private Leelas. He is certainly non-different from Krishna, and therefore we desire to indicate this by decorating him with a peacock feather. Srila Prabhupada also agreed on this basis that one could do so. However, he did not make it a rule. In Lord Chaitanya's role as an avatar on this planet, and even in the spiritual world, he is usually in the mood of Krishna's devotee. The peacock feather would be a contradiction to his Leela. We therefore suggest that the peacock feather not be used on Lord Chaitanya because we wish to present a standard form of Lord Chaitanya as he's described in our literature. So, as I comment sometimes to persons, this is not actually a controversial subject. Within the Gaudiya Math, the followers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur strictly don't do it because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta forbade them. As most Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't do that because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of a devotee. And if we put a peacock feather on his head, then we'll change that mood. We're telling him, oh, you're Krishna. So it's for this reason that our Guru Maharaj was saying this. So to go back to his words in Embankment of Separation, he says, so Mahaprabhu is always crying, Rodrudra Man. He is Krishna himself, but he's feeling the pangs of separation from Krishna because he is in Radha Bhav. Radha Bhav is predominating. That is Vipralambha Bhav. Akrura came and took Rama and Krishna away from Braj Bhumi to Mathura. All the Brajbasis, including the gopis and Radharani, are feeling the acute pangs of separation. They are crying the whole day and night. They've given up everything, even eating and sleeping. Radha has become mad, Unmada. When Krishna sent Uddhava to Braj Bhumi, Uddhava saw what love the gopis and Radharani had for Krishna. Uddhava is Brihaspati's Sishya, a disciple of Brihaspati. That means that he is a Pandit, a Gyani. He is a Gyani Bhakta, lacking prem. Although he had some pride that I am a Gyani Bhakta, still he was very dear to Krishna. Krishna could understand, oh, he's my very dear friend, but he's lacking something. I must give him the highest thing. But unless he goes to Braj Bhumi and gets the opportunity to associate with the gopis, he cannot develop prem. That is Krishna's desire and Krishna's mercy, that he sent Uddhava to Braj Bhumi. Uddhava stayed there for 3 months and saw the pure, unmixed love of the gopis. Uddhava had bhakti, but mixed with gyan. Gyan Mishra Bhakti is devotion mixed with knowledge of Krishna's opulence. Such bhakti is priti sankuchita. The love is shrunken. But in Kevala Bhakti, there is nothing but bhakti, only pure prem bhakti, which is fully blossomed. Krishna said, the gopis don't know anything but me, and I don't know anything but them. So, when Uddhava went to Braj Bhumi and saw the love of the gopis, he condemned himself. Oh, such love they have for Krishna. I thought that I was very dear to Krishna, but how dear they are. They have given up everything. They're always crying. And they've given up eating and sleeping. Their bodies have become so skinny that their ornaments have all become loose. The ring on their little finger is now a bangle on their arm. The gopis told Uddhava, "O Uddhava, tell Krishna about our condition." After Uddhava saw everything with his own eyes, he changed completely. My life is useless. What is worth without such love, Krishna Prem? What is the value of this gyan? That was Uddhava's thoughts. Uddhava is a disciple of Brihaspati, but Brihaspati cannot give him prem. He's lacking prem. Therefore, being merciful upon his dear friend, Krishna sent him to Braj Bhumi so that he could have such love. Uddhava said, unless I get some dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, I cannot develop Krishna Prem. Now he's seeking that dust. O gopis, he said, can you please give me your dust? But they will never give it to me. In this life, it is quite impossible to get some dust from their feet and develop Krishna Prem. So Uddhava desired it in his next life. And Guru Maharaj then quotes a verse from the Bhramara-gita, from the 47th chapter, the 10th canto. This is text number 61. Asammaho chadana renu jisammaham shyam Vrindavane kimapi goma latoshadinam Yadusya jam swajanam arya patam chahitva Bejur mukunda padavim shuti bhivimrigyam. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members. This is the words of Uddhava, by the way. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members who are very difficult to give up. And they have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers, herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. Guru Maharaj comments, these are Uddhava's words. In this life, it is impossible to get the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis, so let me take another birth as a blade of grass, as a medicinal herb, or some creeper in this jungle of Vrindavan. Then I will get a chance. When the gopis feel the acute pangs of separation from Krishna, they become mad. At that time, they run to the jungle of Vrindavan, and they never follow the path. So when they're running, by chance, their feet may touch me. Then I will get the opportunity to get some dust from their lotus feet, and my life will be successful. I will develop Krishna Prem. Otherwise, it is not possible in this life. That is why Uddhava sought the dust from the feet of the gopis. Then Uddhava returned to Mathura and reported everything to Krishna. Brahmati bhavana garbhe, he says, Rupa Goswami has written, Brahmati bhavana garbhe nirminittam hasanti pratayati tavavartam chetanat chetanushu lutati cha bhuvi radha kampitangi murare vishama viraha keto gari vibranta chitta. Uddhava said to Krishna, my dear Krishna, all the gopis are so afflicted by your absence that they've become almost mad. O Murari, at home, Srimati Radharani laughs unnecessarily and, like a mad woman, inquires about you from every entity without distinction, even from the stones. She rolls on the ground, unable to bear the agony of your absence. So that's a verse from the 15th chapter of the Ujjvala Mani. It's also quoted by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in one purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it speaks about the Bhramara-gita and how Srimati Radharani was feeling so much pangs of separation from Krishna and Vrindavan during the time when Uddhava came to give the message of love from Krishna to her. And those feelings of Srimati Radharani in that Bhramara-gita are expressed and felt by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira. So to continue, Guru Maharaj says, Uddhava said, Radharani is feeling very acute pangs of separation from you. All are laughing at her. She's become mad. She is just moving inside the house like a mad woman. If someone comes, she asks them about you. Whoever she meets, she asks them, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? If no one is there inside the house, she asks the wall or the lampstand, oh, have you seen Krishna? She makes no discrimination whether it is conscious or unconscious, living or not living. She has become completely mad now. Her condition is very critical. Sometimes rolling on the ground, sometimes lying unconscious, fainted. This is a condition of Radharani. Oh Krishna, you must go there immediately. Just as the gopis and Radharani in Braj Bhumi are feeling the pangs of separation from Krishna, similarly Krishna and Mathura Dwarka also feel as the pangs of separation from the gopis and Radha. Radharani is Krishna Viraha Vidura. And Krishna is Radha Viraha Vidura. So that is Jagannath. He's crying, Radhe, 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 Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. Therefore, he manifests that form, Mahabhav Prakash, dilated eyes. His hands and legs are shrunken into his body like a tortoise. That is Vipalamba Bhav, Mahabhav. You may see the painting behind me, done by Bana Biharani, Champaka-Lata in America. This is Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. In the words of our Guru Maharaj, 3 logs of wood floating in the ocean of Radha Bhav. Guru Maharaj goes on. And because Gaura is in Radha Bhav, he is Krishna Viraha Vidura. Both are Viraha Vidura, forms of the Lord feeling the pangs of separation. Therefore, Jagannath and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed together in Jagannath Puri Dham, Vipralamba Kshetra. Excuse my pronunciation, I'm saying Kshetra the way they do here in Orissa, but that's the way my Guru Maharaj would pronounce. I'm used to that. In Sanskrit you may say Kshetra, but they say Kshetra here. One who has been to Jagannath Puri, he says, may have seen the house of Kashi Mishra. It is still there. In that house there is a small room known as Gambhira, where Mahaprabhu stayed with his 2 most intimate associates, Sri Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda. Krishna is in Radha Bhav. Krishna in Radha Bhav is Gaura. Mahaprabhu is feeling the same acute pangs of separation as Radharani is feeling. So now Radharani's intimate Sakhis, Lalita and Vishaka are there in the form of Sri Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda. They were always with him. Yesterday, a kind devotee sent me a wonderful quote from Srila Prabhupada, which I was very inspired by. And I said, oh, this is exactly what we want to be speaking about today. When we take devotees on Parikrama and Jagannath Puri, to put things in a perspective, we often say that this is a Jagannath Puri University of Braj Prem, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching us how to enter into Vrindavan. And in this University of Braj Prem, each one of the different Tirtha-sthalis is a different classroom in that university, teaching us different aspects of bhajan to enter Vrindavan. So the first classroom is the Jagannath Mandir, which represents organized religion and great crowds of people. And the second classroom is the Gambhira, which represents the need, the necessity for having intimate sangha and intimate katha to go deep in our bhajan to enter Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu taught us this. So in a lecture in Vrindavan on the 24th of October in 1976, Srila Prabhupada said something about this. To quote what Mani Gopal Prabhu sent me yesterday, he says, so actually this discussion, instructions, are to be executed amongst the Guru and the disciples where there is submission. Otherwise, there's no need of these discussions. Nowadays, we hold some meeting, some ordinary people, they come to hear. But that kind of discussion, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never did. He never did. Because these outsiders, they're not submissive. They come to see the fun. Prabhupada says, they're outsiders. They can't hear properly. Mahaprabhu didn't do this. Why? Because they're not submissive. Because if we want to hear properly, submission is required. And if we don't want to hear properly, then what are we doing? Prabhupada says they come to see the fun. They do not come to learn something. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never made any big meeting. In big meeting, he was present, but kirtan, he was present, but doing kirtan, sankirtan. He was meeting in big meeting daily in the evening for 4 hours in the Jagannath temple. But the whole period of time he was engaged in chanting Hare Krishna. However, When such a person was there, like 𝗚𝗺𝗶 Bhattacharya, or Prakashananda Saraswati, or Ramananda Roy, like such an exalted person, he used to discuss. Otherwise, he was not discussing. There was no need of discussing, because they do not approach with that humbleness. So Srila Prabhupada, in another place I came across, Prabhupada said that in Jagannath Puri, Srila Prabhupada was, when he was with common people, he was only speaking Bhagavad Gita. But when he had a private program with Roy Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, then he was hearing Krishna Katha. So this is the Gambhira. And there's some necessity of this also in our lives. It's not just something theoretical, very high that we're reading about from Krishna. So to go back to Embankment of Separation, our Guru Maharaj says, when Krishna left Braj Bhumi, we have mentioned how Radharani cried and spoke to her intimate Sakhis Lalita and Vishaka. Similarly, when Goura sees the intimate Sakhis Roy Ramananda and Swarup Damodar Goswami, he cries, "Oh, my Sakhi, my dear girl companion." And what does he say? The words of Radharani from Lalita Madhav. Kwananda Kula Chandrama, Kwasiki Chandra Kalankriti, Kwamanda Murali Rava, Kwanu Surendra Nila Duti, Karasa Rasa Tandavi, Kwasaki Jiva Ruksha Sadir, Nidir Mama Surittama, Kwabatta Hantaha Digvidi. My dear friend, where is the glory of the family of Maharaj Nanda, who wears a peacock feather on his crest? Where is Krishna, whose hue is like that of the Indranil jewel, and who plays so nicely on his flute? Where is your friend, the best of all men, so expert in dancing in the circle of the rasa dance? Where is he who is a real medicine to save me from dying of heart disease? I must condemn Providence, for he has caused me so many tribulations by separating me from Krishna. Mahaprabhu uttered the same words that Radharani had uttered. So this is the mood of Goura, always crying, both day and night, feeling such pangs of separation from Krishna, feeling the same delirium as Radharani. He cannot sleep during the night. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda would discuss Krishna Prem Tattva with Mahaprabhu. Every day he would cry before Roy Ramananda and Swarup Damodar Goswami. Then both of them could see what mood had arisen in the mind of Gauranga, and to nourish that mood, they would sing songs from Chandidas, Vidyapati, or Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda. Sometimes they would sing from Bilvamangala Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita, and thereby give pleasure to Mahaprabhu. Sometimes Mahaprabhu would quote verses from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and cry. In this way, they spent their days and nights immersed in kṛṣṇa-līlā gan. One day, Swarup Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda requested, "Mahaprabhu, it is past midnight now, please take rest." Somehow they made Mahaprabhu lie down in Gambhira. Then Roy Ramananda went back to his residence. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Mahaprabhu's personal servant Govinda slept outside at the doorstep. Both of them slept, but Mahaprabhu could not sleep. He was awake the whole night, loudly chanting, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." Swarup Damodar and Govinda could hear Mahaprabhu's kirtan, but after some time, the kirtan stopped. So they had some doubt, what has happened to Mahaprabhu? At that time, all three doors of Mahaprabhu's room were bolted very tightly. There was only one small opening. Govinda got up, lit the castor oil lamp, and saw that all three doors were still bolted. With great difficulty, he opened one door, but he saw that Mahaprabhu was not there, and the other doors were also bolted from inside. Mahaprabhu had disappeared. Where is Mahaprabhu? He's not here. Then Govinda called Swarup Damodar and told him what had happened. They were in great anxiety. Where is Mahaprabhu? Where is Mahaprabhu? This is wonderful. How Mahaprabhu came out. All 3 doors were bolted very tightly, and the walls of the compound were very tall. How could he jump over them and slip away? All the devotees came with lamps and searched in many places, but they could not find him. At last they went to the Jagannath temple gate at the southern side of the Singadwar. There they found Mahaprabhu lying unconscious amongst some cows from the district of Tailanga. Mahaprabhu's body had become like a tortoise. His hands and legs are pushed inside his body like Jagannath. This is ecstasy, Mahabhav. Foam was coming out from his mouth and tears flowed from his eyes. His body looked like a pumpkin. So Gour Maharaj is commenting, and there's a book that we wanted to work on. One moment, let me grab that book. There's a book in Oriya, a very rare book called Mahabhav Prakash, which was written by Mahaprabhu's associate in Jagannath Puri. His name was Kanai Kuntiya. Kanai Kuntiya, as mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita several times, he was the head priest of the Jagannath Mandir. His temple, he has a temple of deities of Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra, just near to the Gambhira, and that area is called Kuntiya Sahi, or the neighborhood of Kanai Kuntiya. And he writes in the beginning of this book, 500-year-old book, he says that he heard these things from Roy Ramananda in the Gambhira. So the book is called Mahabhav Prakash, or the manifestation of Mahabhav, and it speaks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and about Lord Jagannath, how their form is Mahabhav Prakash, and how Jagannath, as you see in the painting behind me, his arms and legs are shrunk inside of his body, his eyes have become very big, big smiles come on his face, in the words of our Gour Maharaj. And this is his Mahabhav Prakash in separation from Radharani and the gopis. And similarly, sorry for that, our internet connection sometimes goes out. So we were saying about this book, Mahabhav Prakash, and in this book, Kanai Kuntiya speaks about 2 forms of Mahabhav. One is Lord Jagannath, and the other is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in Embankment of Separation, in this last chapter, Gour Maharaj speaks about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes his arms and legs shrunk inside of his body, and he manifested the form like a turtle, like the form of Lord Jagannath, whose arms and legs are shrunk in his body, and that's the form of Mahabhav Prakash. So, continuing this, his arms, hands, and legs are pushed inside his body like Jagannath. This is ecstasy, Mahabhav. Foam was coming from his mouth and tears flowed from his eyes. His body looked like a pumpkin. Outside, if you touch it, it's all cold, like a dead body. But inside, there's transcendental blissfulness, ananda. The cows were smelling Mahaprabhu's body. When the devotees tried to drive them away, they would not leave him. The cows wouldn't leave him. All the devotees tried their best to rouse the consciousness of Mahaprabhu, but they failed. So in that unconscious condition, they carried Mahaprabhu back to Gambhira. Then Swarup